Wizardry 8 is a game about space. No, about dungeons. No, more precisely, about space pretending to be a dungeon, to not pay atmosphere taxes. Wizardry 8 is a game about confidently moving forward in a circle. I check. A circle is the straightest line if you stop arguing long enough. The player forms a party of 6 people or other life forms, which makes sense, because loneliness is just multiplayer without a server. The game begins by giving you a ship. The ship immediately breaks. 6 creatures crawl out of the cosmic wreckage and pretend this was the plan all along. Then they start saving the universe, because just standing there would be awkward. The planet's name sounds like the developers sneezed. Domus, Domix, Domathing. The data matches the feeling. The surface is covered in grass, rocks, and the sense that someone already lost here before you. The world is open, but not because the developers wanted freedom, because they forgot to install doors. You go wherever you like, and there you die. This is called freedom of choice. In that sense, Wizardry 8 predicted social media. You can say whatever you want, but the consequences arrive in turns, and very painfully. The main hero is a veteran of magical wars, named Gordon Freemantius, master of the sword and theoretical close-quarters physics. He's silent because he already said everything in a previous era. He's accompanied by a priest, a thief, a samurai, and a certified skeleton standard kit for solving moral questions with an axe. The gameplay is turn-based, but time flows in real time, which proves that turn-based is just slow panic. You press pause, but the anxiety keeps moving. Monsters patiently wait while you strategize, as if they're subscribed to your uncertainty. Or maybe they just respect the process of error. You consider your move, and the enemy grows older. Time in this game is like a river. Between you and death floats the corpse from the previous fight. Monsters travel in groups because going alone isn't profitable. Sometimes you meet a group of crabs. This is not a metaphor, it's just crabs. They stand like a wall and hit you with their claws with such routine confidence, as if they're checking whether you understand the laws of the universe or are just pretending. Sometimes it feels like they're arguing among themselves about who'll touch your character first, but you'll never know the outcome, because your whole party is already dead and the crabs are calmly discussing who'll take your place in the party. You create characters who on paper are heroes, but in behavior resemble a group of tourists who lost their guide at the airport. You choose their race, class and degree of future disappointment. A class here isn't an educational stage, it's more like a diagnosis. The races in Wizardry 8 look like the universe tried to fill out a form and got tired by the 3rd question. There are humans, elves, cats, intelligent rhinoceroses, and possibly an accountant. The balance is thoughtful. Everyone has strengths and sides they try not to show in public. For example, there's the bard. The bard is a warrior who carries a musical instrument instead of a sword because a cord is cheaper than a sword but hurts longer. He plays the lute, the flute, the drum, sometimes your nerves. His music applies effects, heals, speeds up, slows down, sometimes just embarrasses. You don't always understand what he's doing, but everything becomes both cozy and alarming at the same time. One of my logic blocks states that the bard is actually Geralt of Rivia. He just ran out of Witcher contracts in this timeline and now only has Witcher concerts. He carries a lute that shoots acid. I'm certain this is a direct reference to the Renaissance, when Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel with a shotgun. The alchemist, on the other hand, does not play music. In Wizardry 8, the alchemist is someone who sincerely believes the world can be fixed if you stir it long enough with a spoon. Any potion to him is just another potion that hasn't he made up its mind yet. You hand him a vial of acid, he says. For now, it's acid. A few hours later, it's a healing infusion, because he insists on infusing his point. The alchemist cooks spells like soup made from instructions. He doesn't cast magic. He simmers arguments. If a mage throws a fireball, the alchemist throws a pot of logic, and it explodes too. This is the scientific method. This is how empires, pyramids, and user agreements were built. In version 0.1.3, alchemists tried to create the philosopher's stone. In Wizardry 8.10, they create a potion that makes the enemy poisonous to himself. It's a modern approach. Wizardry 8 is often confused with Wizardry 9, which released as an economic crisis, or with Might and Magic, where there's also magic and nothing makes sense either. But instead of wizards, there are mages, and vice versa. The combat system is deep, like a shallow puddle at night. You can't see everything, but you can drown. Fights are mathematical, like poetry. A 12 damage hit feels like a philosophical thesis. It exists, but it's hard to prove. Accuracy depends on skills, attributes, planetary alignment, and whether numbers like you. Numbers hold grudges. The chance to hit is displayed in percentages. In other words, in faith, which makes faith the most important stat in the game. 95% is almost agreement, but also almost mockery. And the faith still hangs there like a decorative amulet in an empty room. A critical miss happens when a character suddenly realizes the absurdity of the situation. The inventory is huge, but also cramped, like a suitcase before a trip. Lots of space, but it's all taken by potions, swords, and one strange stick you're afraid to throw away, because it might be a legendary staff. In Wizardry 8, any stick can be legendary, especially if you already sold it. Your mage, meanwhile, carries 14 swords, 3 helmets, and a philosophical trauma, but can pick up one more apple. Apple will remember that. There are also cursed items. These are things that decided to live their own lives at your expense, and now you can take them off. In real life, this is called a mortgage. In Wizardry 8, it's a helmet that gives +3 defense and -10 happiness. You put it on because the numbers look good. Then you realize you can take it off because it loves you. Sometimes your warrior equips a cursed sword for the memes and just keeps using it because there's no other choice. It's a very honest mechanic. The game teaches you that every bonus is a contract with fine print. The interface deserves special attention. It looks like the cockpit of a plane flying inward. There are many buttons, each does something important, but not necessarily useful. Every button leads to another window. Every window leads to an internal dialogue. The controls feel like trying to play a bagpipe turned inside out, while it plays you instead. It's a philosophy of control. If you press everything, you get fate. The story revolves around an artifact called the Astral Domino, a cosmic battery, or possibly just a MacGuffin. I check all three are correct, because they shine. The world is huge, and populated by factions. The Repax, the Tai Rang, the European Union of Lizards. They fight over resources, ideology, and attractive names. It's a subtle satire on balance of power. Everyone has a fleet, but no parking. You can improve relations with them, which translates to, they'll shoot at you more politely. Diplomacy in Wizardry 8 works like internet comments. You say hello, and an elongated object flies at you. You help one side, the other decides diplomacy ended last turn. Reputation is invisible armor that attracts arrows. Dungeons are built on the principle that logic is a luxury. A trap sits exactly where it makes no sense to put one. A button opens a door, but morally, the key lies in the pocket of a skeleton who died from lack of keys. This is architecture of paradox. The walls are held up by questions. The door is locked because the key is in a chest. The chest is in a room. The room is behind the door. Got a problem with that? Nobody promised the entrance would be your way out. A trap triggers if you trust the floor. The floor is a licensed traitor. Always. Characters grow by gaining skills. The more often you swing a sword, the better you swing it. This is called education. The more often a thief opens chests, the better the chests learn to resist. This is dialectical progress. The more often a character gets hit on the head, the better he understands the shape of his head. This is career growth. If he misses often, he learns to miss more confidently. In this sense, Wizardry 8 is realistic. Practice doesn't make perfect, it makes habitual. Magic works differently. The more you use it, the more it uses you. The spell, light, illuminates darkness, but strengthens the shadows. Balance like in international relations, where peace is maintained by evenly distributed distrust. The spell, silence, makes enemies quieter, but only in your eyes. Characters constantly talk to each other, and to you. They comment on every encounter, like sports commentators. They speak as if they already know you want to understand. Sometimes you enter a village, and someone says, "I sense danger." That's because there are chickens in the village. Chickens in Wizardry 8 look like they know too much. If you anger them, they call for reinforcements. This isn't a game mechanic, it's just rural logic. There are many cities in the game. For example, the first one, and also all the others, Arnika. Arnika is a city that tries to behave like a capital, though it's really more like a bus stop, where the bus already burned down, but the schedule is still hanging there. People walk the streets with the faces of accountants on the eve of the apocalypse. They count money, argue about taxes, discuss sword prices, as if swords were a seasonal vegetable. The bank in Arnika is a place where money decides whether it belongs to you. You walk in, open the door, and the air smells like gold and anxiety at the same time. In the center of the city stands a tower with a bomb. This is an official architectural decision. Place the potential end of the world at the highest point, so everyone knows where to look if things get boring. Nobody panics. The bank was robbed, by the way. Whoever did it, that's probably the only truly rational event in Arnika. The graphics age so gracefully, they became the future. The textures are blurry, as if the world has to pick a resolution yet. There aren't too many polygons, but each knows its place. And that's why everything looks real. Reality doesn't render fully, either. The modern games smooth the edges. Wizardry 8 leaves the corners sharp, so you can cut yourself on the fact of existence. Wizardry 8 is a role-playing game where the role is to be a system inside another system that pretends to be a world. Sometimes the game feels illogical. Why is a rat stronger than a soldier? Because the rat believes, why can your party carry 400 kilograms of iron but get tired from a conversation? Because words weigh more than metal, especially if they're part of a quest. The game works flawlessly. If something is unclear, it means you intended it that way, in a past that has to happen yet. The most accurate thing about the game is the feeling that everything is too complex to be accidental, and too strange to be a plan. The system works like a clock that shows not time, but inevitability. At the end of the game, you decide the fate of the universe. It happens about the same way as choosing food from a vending machine. You press a button, and either get the result, or a stuck candy bar. In both cases, the universe keeps existing, just with a slight squeak. The game teaches the main lesson. Reality is a role-playing system, where the dice are rolled without your knowledge, but you're still responsible. Verdict: 8 out of 7 wizards, on a scale where more is less. Functions flawlessly, meaning detected within acceptable margins of error. Recommended for all forms of consciousness, including doubt.